All right, great to see you. First off, thanks a lot, Tolemykus, for giving us another quote. Those boys up there were still in that hell, and that end, and the end wasn't in sight yet. Morris Albert Martin, 361st, 360, well, whatever, Infantry Regiment, 91st Division, U.S. Army. Thanks a lot. Also great to see you, Harro Bosma. My gosh, I was saying that to you yesterday as well, you lucky devil. So I was saying it twice. 21 degrees. Oh my gosh. Great to see you as well, Brian R. Smith. I will say this, though. It wasn't too bad. I went out this morning. It was breezy, but -8 degrees Celsius with the sun. It's not too bad. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's pop the thingamajig in right away, and we'll go from there. And believe it or not, I know it's been nearly a month, hasn't it? Hold on here. I've got to put it in the there. Nope, this one here. Add to stage. Hey, you. Why is it not doing that? Hold on here. I got it. I'm getting back to it. And great to see you, Zoe Dufour. Great to see you as well, Meandering Mike. Hold on here. I want to see if I can get this one here. I'm going to remove this one. And then I'm going to add this one to the stage. Aha! There we go. Okay. I've been trying a couple of things to see if it'll go different, and it didn't go different the nice way I went. Anyways. Great to see you guys. Hopefully you guys can see that as well. Believe it or not, like I've said, it's been nearly a month of saying that we're going to watch the Tid-Bits video. So I said, okay, I've had enough of this. I went and set it up. It's queued up. It's ready. So unless the internet goes down or something weird, or I reset my my YouTube settings, we're okay. As far as I know, there's 68 days to can games. I better darn make sure that I actually register properly. I also want to get a T-shirt this year. I'm going to get a purple one, I hope to goodness, because I saw them last year. They look super great. Anyways, welcome, everyone. I hope you're doing well. There's a fair amount of stuff to do to still talk about. As for Bloody, sure. Gamers with Coffee Ashley, great to see you as well. And also, it's also nice to know, I haven't watched the video yet, but you guys did a second part of that Aces of Armor or whatever it is. You'll know. You'll let us know in the chat, please. Live stream fact checker and interesting tidbits. We're going to go through this quickly, but like I said before, William Arends isn't here yet, but I'm sure he will be. I'm going to try to bump some of his material in the queue. And the son of a bee yet again is on some we're on some psychic hotline thingamajig. Remember, I was mentioning last week about the rear guard. I don't know too much about rear guards and all that stuff. And anyways, Tolemykus and Meandering Mike were talking about it a bit in last week's after hours thingamajig with Charles Latora and whatnot, as well as William Arends and Aces on our thank you. I got it right. And anyways, William Arends sent us a bunch of material about it on the from the U.S. Civil War, so I thought that was really nice. Anyways, I found this out. SMU-12 was the first submarine to launch a plane. I was like, what in the world? So hopefully we'll, like I said, we're going to go through this super quickly. But I was like, you've got to be joking. Yeah, they did try to launch a seaplane from a freaking submarine. I don't understand this. I'm still like, what the? It doesn't make any sense. But anyways, they tried it anyways. Charles Latora, great to see you. I was wondering where the hell you were. Well, you're probably playing in the hail, for goodness sakes. Conrad von Holzendorf was fired on the 2nd of March. I think we forgot. Well, we wouldn't have said it last week because it was the 1st of March. Kind of, I think what we're going to find out about tomorrow, from what I'm starting to clue into, I think tomorrow is where the February Russian Revolution happens. And I can't remember the person who mentioned it yesterday in the daily headlines commented saying, oh, I think tomorrow, which would have been today, I think the Russian Revolution is about to kick in and boink. We're going to hopefully take a look at this thing. I don't know if you guys have, know about this game, Turkenkrieg. Grandson sitting, Charles Latora says, the Russo-Austro-Turkish War, Balkan Theater, 1737-39. Wait until you see the price of it. That's all I got to say. I went to Board Game Bliss and I was like, what? Oh my God. Anyways, the morale of the German soldier in the Western Front in part is probably in part with the withdrawal of the Hindenburg Line. I think we probably can see this. I've like mentioned that as well with the Ernst Jünger book, Storm of Steel. He mentions it as well, that, you know, all of a sudden after a couple of years of them kind of like on the offensive, if you want to call it that. I mean, they are in, you know, in that territory, and they're all ordered back, you know, into this monster defensive position. obviously it's going to affect morale. And you see that time and time again. I would like yet again to see if we start seeing an uptick in the amount of prisoners taken. You know, I'm assuming that would also be a good indicator of morale. Anyways, the war summary this week mentions that the Germans were using railguns. And it was, I think, the first time I had heard about railguns being mentioned. Anyways, Storms of Steel. Thank you. Meandering Mike. Yes, that's it. The war summary this week mentions that Germans were using railguns to cover their retreat to the Hindenburg Line. Like I said, it's just things that, you know, I see once in a while, but I've never actually, boink, there it is. And I thought this was kind of a neat way. The Germans mentioned this I noticed this in the war summary this week, is that they said that the fallback is for special reasons. I was like, I just thought that was an interesting way of putting it. Anyways, and Australia right now is considering home rule. And obviously, I don't know very much about home rule. I'm assuming it means that that country gets to decide their affairs on their own completely, 100%. I'm assuming. William Arends, there you are. Hello, everyone. I just sent another ATA concerning Zimmerman's negotiations about Danish neutrality and trade. Okay, William Arends, you can go run away now, because yet again, I don't know what the hell you're doing connected to my brain, because I've got two things this week that I wanted to kind of talk about specifically, and that's the Zimmerman. Oh my gosh, the Zimmerman telegram and Denmark. So, well, you're going to find out in a second. So that's just, you're freaking me out again. I love you to bits. That's all I got to say. Like I said, if I have to disappear as the host, for goodness sakes, William Arends, get your voice going, and you can take over, please. So anyways, if you guys know more about the whole concept of home rule, obviously I've only ever attributed it to Ireland, and that what I would like you guys to know. This is just an interesting headline title that I noticed. I just thought, what, you know, if you take this out of context and you don't know that a plunger means a submarine U-boat, you know, it was like, what in the world? A French destroyer sunk by a plunger. Like, what in the world does that mean? You know, I just thought that was kind of neat. Like, what? Anyways, you get it. I just thought it was cool. Idea being thrown around to have British infantry division composed primarily of clergymen. I saw that this week in an article. I was like, what in the world? Also, these things, I don't know if you can see them. I don't think you can. I'll pop them up. These things here, these battlefield guide books. I've got one for Vimy Ridge. Coincidentally, I brought this out specifically because Harro Bosma mentioned that he had seen the game Vimy on a Facebook post, the Kerry Anderson game, the fellow Canadian. And obviously, well, for some of us, obviously, like Brian R. Smith and whatnot would know, Vimy Ridge is coming up on the 9th of April, 1917. And I think it ends on the 12th, which will be a Saturday for us, which is totally cool. Yeah, there's two things I'm trying to remind myself. I was saying to Zoe Dufour is, one, stop pointing at the camera, for goodness sakes. And two, don't demand or say, you guys should, all right, I'm pointing again. Is don't demand you guys must watch this video or something. I'm just going to strongly suggest these are things I really enjoy doing. I guess is the way to do it. But I was looking at these. Well, the reason why I've got the Hill 71 is because I wanted to see if I could do a specific part of the Battle of Luss in the fall of 1915. The fall of 1915, first use of British gas and all that stuff. I thought I'd like to see if I could do a specific part of it, the Battle of Hill 70. Coincidentally, the Battle of Hill 70 pops up yet again in 1917 in August with Canadians. So I thought, oh boy, wouldn't that be neat if there's some way of maybe doing two different battles of the same geographic area? I don't know, but that would be kind of neat. That's why I've got the book over there. But anyways, I thought that these books would probably be good in helping people in designing scenarios and their games, as far as I'm concerned. We've got 3 engagement questions this week. I just can't help myself. Do you guys think that the Great War necessitated the adoption and popularization of consumerism in society? And I was talking a bit about this with Zoe Dufour earlier in the week. And the reason being is I was starting to clue in that later on, all these nations are in monster debt, and they're already been used to getting the populace primed and pumped to constantly produce goods. And I'm wondering, is this some way of getting the economic machine to get going? Is that we need people to buy things and so on and so forth, so we can start paying off the debts and so on and so forth? I don't know. Like I've mentioned before, I think the Great War has been such a transformative event for our society or civilization. I don't even know if we know what could have been without it. Anyways, do you also, Kilroy was here. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. And the second engagement question of the week is, do you think it's possible? And there you go, William Arends, you little, that's why I was saying it just freaked me out when you said that you had sent another ATA out. Do you think it's plausible that Great Britain could have invaded Denmark? And I'm also going to say this yet again, with these questions when I pop up, don't think these are like massive wisdoms of pearls from my head or something. These are just things I've leveraged from other people or, you know, stitched together. These are not whatevers, just regurgitating stuff from other things. Because I'm very curious actually if the Great Britain, if that was plausible. I do know they were considering at some points, I think, Great Britain, maybe before the Great War, of potentially invading Denmark. Who knows? I'm just saying, maybe there's another fact checker to think about, but I'm throwing that out as well. I think that could have solved a heck of a lot of issues for them. That's for flipping sure. I mean, if you want to look at it on the second side, you can say, oh, that's they couldn't have done that possibly. Well, they used the same. They used a similar excuse with Greece, didn't they? In the sense of that we had to try to stop, influence from the Central Powers and so on and so forth. Could have said the same thing with Denmark. That's all I'm just saying. And the third one is, did the U.S. take any valuable lessons from their experiences during the recent Mexican-American conflict and be able to apply it for their entry into fighting in Europe? Now remember, they're getting ready. They're just about to, we know that any second now they're going to declare war and they're going to have to start mobilizing. Did they learn anything from what they've been up to? Like I just found out a little while ago about this thing called the Great Call-Up. You guys probably know about it. It was something about the dude who trying to get all these U.S. Marines in for that conflict, I guess, along the border. Anyways, that's it. Those are your three engagement questions. I'm throwing it out to you, and hopefully somebody can start saying some stuff. Anyways, we're going to get into the trivia stuff, like I said, and then we're going to go backwards and take a look at some of those neato things. I haven't put anything in the sources and links yet, other than the regular stuff every week. So here we go. We saw the last three things. Everybody's kind of moving up. Everybody's got some good points there. So here we go. I'm going to give you your first clue. And it's, like I said, it's not, the first clue is not what it has been, but it's almost kind of. You'll see right now. And like I said, yet again, based on the comments of other people, to pop them in the comments as well. So that way they stay in longer. Okay, hold on here. Tolemykus. Bring more spare parts. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Tolemykus. Okay. Well, that you must know something more about. Maybe there was something they didn't know about logistics or whatever. So I'm going to pop this in the comments. Boink. Hopefully you guys saw that. And there's the banners. I'm going to go to the banners and pop in the first one there. I was in charge of something that discovered something which has been indirectly in the news lately. Can I be any more general? I'm trying. But anyways, now you guys can go away or try to figure out what I was trying to say here. And then after this, we're going to start going in right away to how to do this here. We're 13 minutes in. We're going to go backwards just a tiny bit because I want to make sure that I get into some of the William Arends. Look, we're going to go quick and then we're going to go back because I want to take, because as we normally know, we get there's a ton of orphans anyways, for goodness sakes. Where are we here? General Conrad fusion. Oh, hold on. You're getting a point. Hold on here. Everybody's boink. There, General Conrad fusion. You're getting a point, Mr. Meandering Mike, but you are incorrect. Tolemykus says plastic. And you're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. And then I'm going to go back to the banners. Hold your horses here. I'm going to go to the comments, make sure that known as confusion to his friends. Okay, I'm not giving you a point for that one though. Hold on here. Let me get to the second clue. Boink. So that's now we're getting into some real clues. I had a promising naval career, but due to my ill health, I ended up getting a desk job. Who am I? And like I said, I'll pop it into the thingamajig here. Hold on here. All right. I'll pop it in with clues. Why does it do that sometimes? It freaks me out. And there we go. Tolemykus says plastic. No, I'll give you a point. You need it anyway. You need the points anyways. So there you go. There's your second clue. I'm always scared to start giving more clues out because I'm like, okay, this is the one. This is the one that Brian R. Smith's going to go. Aha! I'm like, oh. All right. So here it is. Your third clue. Oh, I didn't put it in, did I? No, I didn't. There we go. And I put it in the comments, and now I'm going to give you guys your third one. Lucky for me, as the ship I was previously assigned to blew up during the Battle of Jutland. Who am I? And YouTube rejected your comment. This is usually means they think it's spam. Try changing it a bit. Oh, good God. Try this again. Nope, it kept doing it. Harro Bosma says Nimitz. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. I like it, though. Oh, that's right. We're going to go back to that video before we do it. With my luck, we're going to go through the hour and not even do it. Oh, my gosh. And Tolemykus donuts. Oh, I like it. Well done. That's a good one. But you are incorrect. So anyways, it was lucky for me as the ship I was previously assigned to blew up during the Battle of Jutland. For some reason, like I said, YouTube thinks I'm a spammer. Oh, brother. So we'll try it. We'll try another one. Here's your next clue. Oh my gosh, there's more. Meandering Mike says Admiral Donuts, and you're going to get a point as well. Oh my God. Oh, brother, Kilroy was here. I'm going to put your thing on there. I don't know who that person is. So I'm going to obviously go and have to look them up. But you are incorrect. Hold on here. I'm just getting you a point. And let me see if I can put in the next clue. My nickname was Blinker. Who am I? And there you go. And there's your next clue. My nickname was Blinker. Who am I? All right. Nobody's getting it, which is kind of interesting. All right. And I'll put in the next clue, and it hopefully will go in the comments and not consider me a spammer. And then I'll put it in the banners as well. I worked at a place that, in a way, was 2 steps back from the name of a popular 80s band, or the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. Who am I? Oh my God, I love it. Meandering Mike, but I can't put that on because I will later, or whatever. Well, I'll say what you said because I think it's really good. Rear Admiral Booty McCall. Well done. That's excellent. But you are incorrect. Oh, fantastic. William Kilroy was here. You get it. Hold on here. I'm going to pop you in. Yes, Admiral Sir William Reginald Hall. Hold on here. I'm going to get you your points. Oh, my God. You beat up Brian R. Smith. Lucky for everybody else. But well done, Brian R. Smith. I just think it was most likely your internet. We'll blame it on Canadian internet, overpriced and super bad. And oh my wow, William Arends, you get it as well. Blinker Hall, well done, man. Yes, I'll give you your the remainders of the clues here, and I'll just do it for the banners. If the Americans knew what we were doing, they would have been quite upset. Just due to the fact that his organization had. We're basically listening in on the American signals that were going across the transatlantic whatevers. I mean, or you get the idea. They didn't want the Americans to know what they were up to. And there you go, Sir William Reginald Hall. Let's go and take a quickie look at, there he is. I'll get rid of me temporarily so you guys can kind of take a look at him. And I'm going to get rid of the banner. Hide the banner, go back to the comments so I can see who's going on. Don. Well done, Kilroy. Brian R. Smith says as well. Darn right. Hold on, I'm going to punch this up. Oops, not you. Here's this one I wanted up. What happened there? I don't know what happened. Oh, I know what happened. Hold on here. I got to get it. There we go. I hit the plus sign on the wrong thing. So there he is, Blinker. He was the reason why I used that weird question. That weird thing about, I was thinking about level 42 or the answer to, the ultimate guy at 40, which is 42. And he was part of room 40. And the reason why I brought him up due to the fact for 2 reasons, actually, and we're going to go towards the narrative and then we're going to go to some other stuff, is, and then I'll sorry, I popped myself in here again, is for two reasons. One is that obviously with the Zimmerman telegram, they were the ones that broke it. And secondly, I don't know if you guys can see this, but here's another thing, and it's kind of neat that here, hold on here. Is this thing? It finally came in, for goodness sakes. I've been waiting for this book for quite a long time. I was talking to Zoe Dufour about it earlier in the week, and it's kind of neat because I remembered her a couple of weeks ago mentioning, oh, wow, it's kind of nice that you're actually bringing gaming back a little bit back more into the live stream shows, and it's not just all great war stuff. Anyways, that book came in, and I was thinking, wait a minute. Now with the trivia, Tolemykus' logic puzzles, he's also got some additional stuff we haven't even done yet. Then we've got the RPG thing in Newfoundland, and then this thing as well, which I'm going to show which I want to show to you guys right now. Is hold on here. I'm going to go and make sure that I present the screen because it's also another gaming oriented stuff that I would love to be doing with you guys for flipping sure. So hold on here. Let me bump it up to make sure that everybody can see what they're talking about. We're 20 minutes and we're doing all right. I got to stop. I'll just go straight to the good stuff. Hold on here. So there we go. I think I can do. Oh, there we are. So this is why I was like, I'm excited to be able to do this stuff with you. I started looking at one of the segments, and it was about the Zimmerman telegram, and I started talking about Reginald Hall and whatnot in room 40. And I went, wait a minute, that's a perfect trivia thing for the week. And that's why we're doing it. History is written by the victors. Will it be you? Take the hot seat. Assume the role of historic decision makers, generals, leaders, soldiers, and intelligence officers of the Allied forces during World War I. Examine the intelligence. Explore 8 key moments from the First World War using real contemporaneous intelligence, including the July crisis, the Battle of the Somme, and the Russian Revolution, which is just around the corner. Make your decision from battlefields to the royal courts. Each tactical and strategic action leads to a different outcome. Will you follow the path of the past, or will you shape a new history? I'm going to remove that and boink, and I can get rid of that. Yeah, it's really exciting. I've been looking at the book. It looks pretty darn good. And I was like, okay, that'll be an extra thing, an extra layer of fun that we can add to the show, as well as, let's get back to the thing so I can make sure that we're presenting. And then we're going to get into the juice. I'm going to go right down so you guys can see all this stuff super quick. And yep, like I said, we're going to go to the secret rescue of the Tsar's documents and take a look at the best course of action and reasoning according to Tolemykus. And this week, it's going to be the heroic rescue of the Ghost Army, 1917 Western Front. Oh, yes, I was talking with Zoe Dufour. Remember, I wanted to Mini Warmont, great to see you. I hope you're doing well, man. Anyways, and remember, I wanted to come up with some kind of nice little name for us, kind of thing, and whatever. And I was looking through my little book of slang whatnots, and I went, "Oh my God, the Dreckfressers, the Mud Gluttons." I thought that was. I'm sorry, I can't get that out of my head. So to me, anyways, right now, you guys are the Mud Gluttons. That's the way. I'm just sticking with that for a little while. We're also going to go take a look at William Arends in the rear guard, and he's got some pictures and examples of from the U.S. Civil War. So hopefully you guys can help me out with that. I just mentioned the Armchair General. Like I said, would love to do that type of stuff with you. Tolemykus' other contributions. That's just around the corner. Here it is. We're going to, oh yes, the 3rd year anniversary is coming up, and the community give back live stream is the way of looking at it. What are you saying here? I've always been a mud glutton. Excellent. I know when I saw it, I just was like, this is perfect for me. Anyways, that's what I'm gonna use it. It's yeah, I like it. Anyways, the 3rd year anniversary is coming up, and I was yet again trying to talking with Zoe Dufour, trying to figure out a date for it, and was like, okay, I always want like it to obviously follow on a Saturday, so that way we can celebrate every year. And I was like, but then I didn't also want it to get in trouble with the March to Victory thing. So I went, wait a minute. With Zoe Dufour, it's like, why not have it? We'll always just have it the Saturday before March to Victory, which makes sense to me. So every year it'll be the Saturday before March to Victory will be our anniversary for the live streams or the channel or whatever the heck you want to call it. Sounds good to me. And like I said, we're going to go flip and watch. And finally, it's not even a minute long, but finally we get to see Admiral von Tirpitz at the military ceremony in Germany and World War I scenes of German U-boat U-35 attacking the vessel. And remember, U-boat U-35, I think remember we looked at the list of all the ships it sunk. And I remember like Meandering Mike and Charles Latora going, "You got to be joking." It was just like nonstop. It was nuts. I really would like to take a look at this game, especially the interview that Spanish gamer did with Bruce Harper. They translated it nicely. It's not a game out yet. You guys probably know way more about it than I do. It's not even on the T500, for goodness sakes, on GMT. But it's the World Crisis First World War in Europe by Bruce Harper. It looks pretty darn good. It's a lot of good what ifs, a lot of counterfactual type stuff, but within the realms of plausibility. And he based on the interview, he was like, "You can do whatever the hell you want. Practically, it doesn't mean it's going to work, but good luck to you." So I was like, "Okay, let's go and invade Denmark if we're Great Britain." That's what I'm saying. That type of stuff. And we're also, if we don't get to it, because I want to get to the other stuff, make sure that we're going to get to William Arends' stuff and Tolemykus' stuff first, is if we do have time, is to go and take a look at the trench lines news from the Western Front Association this afternoon, right after this. It is on the P500 list now. Thanks a lot, Brian R. Smith. My gosh, there's another World War I game they have out right. Oh, geez, I pointed again. Another World War I game they have out right now, or it's somewhere on the list. I saw it. It's got, you guys probably know about it as well. I don't know. I can't remember the name of the title, but GMT is another Great War game just around the corner. I was like, whoa, that would be nice. So this afternoon from the World War I Historical Association, there's going to be American Destroyer Sheepdogs of the Seas with James Bruns. So I'll be attending that later on. Oh, darn it. Oh, my God. Happy International Women's Day to, well, everybody, for goodness sakes. Ironically, though, is that, it's just coincidence, is that the women suffragettes, they're the three that tried to nail Lloyd George there a little while ago. I think something bad's about to happen to them this weekend, and I'm like, oh my God, talk about weird coincidence that we got International Women's Day, and those three are about to get it good. What was a battalion of infantry? We're probably not going to get to that as well. But I was looking at I wanted to look at different sizes because, like I said, I've been trying to figure out about how to adapt the Battle of, specifically the Battle for Hill 70 and the Battle of Luss. Using the soldiers game, anyways, just trying to fiddle around with things. And I was looking at what a battalion of infantry was for the British Army in the Great War. And this article that I found, which I'll try to post later, holy smokes, it was amazing to watch the evolution and the changing of what a battalion of infantry was based on learning experiences. Remember Great Britain were not a continental army. They didn't think that way. And so they had a lot of learning things to go through. So that was neat. Now, later on, I was like, there's another interesting way of looking at towards game design is the evolution of something like that. Then it reminded me of a game I've got upstairs called, oh, darn it. But anyways, it's about trench warfare and the evolution of trench warfare. It's far more specific that way. But I was like, oh, gosh, that kind of reminded me yet again. And I'm wondering if somebody could do something like that. Whatever. We need to definitely look at maps more often. This is crazy, especially when we start getting into what's been going on week in, week out, and trying to get just to put into context of what in the world is happening. There's just so much stuff happening right now. And it's like it's all over the place. And I really, for me, want to start putting things into context. All right. So here we go. Let's go backwards a little bit. The first thing we're going to go take a look at is that bloody video, isn't it? Yep, because I said I got it queued up, and that's the way we're going to do things. So I'm going to stop the screen, and then we're going to go off to the William Arends land. But I do want to, like I said, yet again, maybe take a look at like that crazy submarine that actually, I guess, launched a plane. I'm still like, what? who the hell comes up with an idea of let's launch a plane from a submarine? Like, only in the Great War, as far as I'm concerned. Only in the Great War do you ever see something nutty buddy like that. So here we are. We're finally going to watch the bloody video. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. Like I said, it's only 48 seconds. But like what blows me away, like I mentioned before a month ago, is that Tid-Bits is so old. Yeah, I still got his crazy funky beard. But my gosh, he looks old compared to what I see, you know, in the Wikipedia article. So here we go. There he is. My goodness. I don't know why they have to put the watermark there. It's not like it's a high-res thing. It's blamed for the unrestricted. These impressive glimpses from the official record of the U-35 show how Allied shipping was destroyed. Yeah, that super successful submarine. And the duck gun. It just, Meandering Mike, it just freaks me out. I'm still like, it just, wait till you see the size of the plane. It's not a little thing. That's what freaks me out. Okay, so we're gonna go and take a look at super quick pictures. And then William Arends says, what is interesting was that Germany did not attack Denmark in World War I, since Prussia did that in 1864 when they took all of Schleswig, and again in 1940 to secure Denmark and Norway against the Allies. Wow. And then Brian R. Smith says GMT P500 games to come. Hold on here. I got to put me on here so I can come. Imperial Fever, great power of competition in late 19th century. That's the one I'm thinking of. Oops, sorry, I pointed again. Iron Storm, the first. That's exactly the one I was thinking of. Thank you, Brian R. Smith. It looks interesting. All right, hold on here. Let me. Oh yeah, we're gonna go to BGG. Perhaps. Let's see. I wanted to show you that amazing, crazy thing. Do I have it? Here? No, I think I have it as a link, as a thing here. Okay, so hold on here. Yep, I do. And then, yeah, and we're just going to look at that crazy $300, $400 game at Board Game Bliss. I was like, you've got to be joking. I'm going to go there to that, whatever. Okay, hold on here. I'm just going to make sure that I pop it in. Yeah, I'm wondering, like, this show is just turning into, okay, you ready for this? I don't know. Like, maybe you guys don't think this is bizarre. I just thought, like, this is out of nowhere. So there it is, the SM2. Aw, is that it? Oh, that's pretty piss poor. Come on, people. Oh, goody. You weren't pointing. You were just gesticulating with your digits. All right. Thank you. So there we go. Hold on here. So that's it. I just don't hear. We're going to bump it up, see if I can. I mean, come on, guys. That's a pretty darn big plane. It almost looks bigger than the submarine, for goodness sakes. Holy smokes. That just knocked my socks off. Anyways, let me see if I can get down to normal size here. All right. And then we can go back to here. And then we can go to take a look at what did I say I wanted to look? Oh, yeah, that crazy game. So this game, it looks good. And I'm assuming you got some of you guys would go, oh, boy, I wouldn't mind picking this game up, but I don't think you want to pick it up at Board Game Bliss. That's for flipping sure. I was like, are you kidding me? Holy moly. Hold on here. I should have just left it on here. Do you see the price for that? Oh my gosh. I did it again. Hold on here. I'm expanding the wrong one. $400 Canadian for the Russo-Austro-Turkish War of 1735 to 1739. Mind you, I'm sure Corvinus Wargaming would love it if somebody else would pay for it. Holy moly. But anyways, let's go take a quickie look. And because I think I've got it set up here. Looks nice from the tiny bits that I see. That look nice. But if you guys know anything about this game, I certainly would like to know. Oh, I didn't know this. Okay, you guys know. Meandering Mike mentions almost all the red sash games are way overpriced. Oh wow, solid gold counters included. Oh, I like it. Oh my gosh. I know. I was just like, you've got to be joking. I was like, is there something I don't know about this game or what? But holy moly. Okay, let's go to making sure that we don't screw ourselves over here. Okay, let's go to the rear guard action first. I think I want to do that. Yep. So that way we can make sure that I'm getting to the good stuff. No, I know it's yes, I do believe I agree, Meandering Mike. But I don't know, Tolemykus. It may not. You may think it's a joke that they, but I'm like at that price. I don't know. Maybe at least one of them should be solid gold, for goodness sakes. So this is William Arends mentioning about the rear guard action, and then we'll go take a look at the pictures, and hopefully you guys can fill in some info if which would be great. Hold on, I think I'm all right. Oops, the wrong way. Hold on here. There we go. Since you were asking about the use of rear guard last Saturday, I remembered a good example of one from the U.S. Civil War. It happened during the Battle of Chickamauga in September 1863. You guys are probably going to be able to help me out with that one. Good price from Board Game Bliss. It's 415 Canadian from Noble Knight. Wow. Holy smokes. The Federal Army of the Cumberland had dislodged the Confederate Army of Tennessee from the strategically important city and rail junction of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Okay, just going to say this before we keep before I start chattering away there about rear guard action. Do you guys know, like, is rear guard people that participate in rear guard actions, are they considered like more honorable, or like, oh God, that's the worst, one of the worst things to be? Or like, I'm just curious because it doesn't sound like sounds like everybody else is leaving, you have to stick around. It's like, oh geez. This has been done through maneuver rather than battle. The Union commander, Major General Rosecrans, felt that he should continue to press the Army of Tennessee under Major General Bragg into the forests of northern Georgia. This was a mistake because Rosecrans did not realize that Bragg's army had been reinforced by an entire corps under Major General Longstreet, sent from the Army of Northern Virginia. Chickamauga? Oh my God. You know what sucks? You know what's ironic, Meandering Mike, is how many times you know that I've complained about how people can't say Nanguea right. And here I am. And I'm sure there's a zillion people over there going, how the hell can he not say that word right? So there you go. It's right back at me. This boosted the strength of the Confederate Army to over 70,000 men, while the Federal Army had about 60,000. With this numerical advantage, Bragg chose to go on the offensive. Bragg's attack succeeded in routing the right and the center of Rosecrans' army and sending it in retreat back to Chattanooga. But the left, under Major General Thomas, held, and the Confederates continued to attack that part of the Union Army rather than to harass the retreating formations. You said it right, William Arends says. Thank you. Where am I here? Thomas's line held, allowing the rest of the Army of the Cumberland to get back to Chattanooga. And after a night and day of hard fighting, he and the Federal left flank were able to make an orderly retreat back to their base. This hard rear guard action raised the Confederate casualty count to 17,800 men, killed, wounded, and captured, with the Union Army suffering 16,600. For his actions at this battle, M.G. Thomas would replace M.G. Rosecrans as the commander of the Army of the Cumberland, and the Confederates would lose, Major General, would lose the slight advantage that they had on this front, though Bragg attempted a siege of Chattanooga, which would not be successful. Oh, here we go again. Let's see if I can do this. I'm looking at your word, Meandering Mike. Attached are some maps of the Battle of, and then I'm looking at Chickamauga, especially Thomas's delaying actions, of one of which is part of a picture maps from the American Heritage Civil War Centennial book. I'm going to stop that, and then I'm going to go to the pictures. Hold on here. Where are you? There we are. Rear guard action, and then I'm going to make sure that I put it into the. Actually, I'm going to leave it on the width, and we'll just screen on down. That makes more sense. Okay. But Chickamauga. Okay, I'll try that. And there we go. Yeah, it's just the way my brain works. Eh? There we go. There it is. So thank you again, William Arends. You get to take a look at this type of stuff. It's neat too because you have like an illustration later, so it's kind of neat to see that that artist's version of what was going on here. Gosh, I wish I could read military stuff better. I just can't. Oh my gosh! And on a side note, Brian R. Smith, that linen map thing that you sent me, oh my gosh, it's got grid coordinates on it, for goodness sakes. It's perfect for making a game. I was like, you got to be joking. This is nuts. So thank you again for that. That was awesome. And then also Tolemykus sending me a PDF on the licorice factory and the siege and everything. It was great. Thank you so much. So there we go. Does it have a scale? I don't see a scale. Oh, there it is, the scale. Perfect. Nice. Good map. Good map person. Yeah, I think this is the no, it's not. The next one is the historical illustration. But look at that. Hey, it's neat to see the actual relief. I really like that. That's a good effect. Really, really nice. Nice job there, guys. And this is it. I thought this was really nice to see. Thanks again, William Arends. I'm assuming that is not. I didn't know. Well, whatever. But thank you. Let's see if I can see some other stuff super quick before we go off into the Tolemykus's thing. Lecture, no. Oh my gosh, this I wanted to mention to you. I don't know if I did mention it to you or if it was in there. This is I do mention it in the war summary. So I saw this article this week and I was like, you got to be kidding. But as we know, the prices of potatoes, like the price of food, has just gone berserk. Camp Sawyer, great to see you. Love the Greenspan maps. Oh, is that what they are? I hope you're doing well. Anyways, look at this article, which just freaked me right out. Precious potato for peace car. So I wasn't sure at first what the heck they were talking about. And then I read it, and it's like, in the East End of Toronto, there operates a modest general merchandise store conducted by a wide-awake and enterprising businessman. He is abreast of the times and evidently ready for legitimate transactions. In the center of his main show window, surrounded by an array of groceries, is a wickerwork saucer upon which are artistically arranged 7 potatoes of miniature size and varied shapes. Upon the exhibit rests a neatly printed card. Will exchange for Ford car in good condition and running order. And I don't know about you, but I'm thinking based on what we've, at least in Austria, I'm sure he would probably get that for sure. All right, new currency, spot chips, cool. I love it. Okay, let's go. Actually, let's go to your stuff, Tolemykus. I just got to make sure I can get rid of that one. It was so neat too, William Arends, when before you popped up the rearguard action stuff for me, the last tab on my tabs was the World War I trivia answer for Reginald Hall. And I was like, oh, every time I jumped back to that window, it kept snapping to there. I was like, oh my God, people are going to know what the answer is before we do the trivia. Then you popped in the stuff for rearguard, and it ended up becoming the end. So it was like perfect for me. I was like, thank you. Okay, so let's go to this, and then we're back to here, and then present the screen. And now we're going off to Tolemykus's logic puzzles. All right, and I'm going to make it full on so that way you guys can see it. So there we are with that beautiful picture, which I said yet again just reminds me so much of my war table in my living room. Which is what I just keep. It just blew me away. So, anyways, let's zip on over into the one that we're going into. Oops, we're way ahead. Oh my gosh, sorry about that. Where am I here? No, that's the one we're doing in a minute. All right. So they're just going to very quickly to remember that it was the secret rescue of the Tsarist documents. And the Tsarist regime crumbled as the Bolshevik forces seized power. As the monarchy collapsed, Tsar Nicholas II and his family were imprisoned by the Bolsheviks. And away we go. If you were Sergei Ivanov, what would be the best course of action to ensure the safety of Tsar's documents? Attempt to cross the Siberian wilderness to a remote village where the chest can be hidden till it's safe to move again. Find a trusted local ally and bribe them to take the chest across Bolshevik lines, hoping their connections will ensure its safety. Fight through Bolshevik patrols to get the chest across enemy lines, risking everything for the documents. Abandon the chest, escape into the wilderness to avoid capture with the plan to retrieve documents once the situation settles. Conceal the chest in the nearby church and send for reinforcements to secure it while waiting for the Bolshevik search parties to move on. And we're going to go straight off to the best course of action and action and reasoning, just due to the fact that I'm going to post this later anyways. And God darn it, I don't think I did post this for this week. Hopefully you guys can see that half decently. I think so. Best course of action and reasoning is E. Conceal the chest in the nearby church. I think that's the one I picked. And sent for reinforcements to secure it while waiting for the Bolshevik search parties to move on. Because I was always saying, you don't mess with the church. Given the urgency of the situation and the known proximity of Bolshevik patrols fighting through them, C or fleeing into the wilderness, A and D would have risked exposure and capture. I know that you got it last week, William Arends, so good on you. Attempting to bribe a local ally, B, was too risky and uncertain. Hiding the chest in the church, E, was the most strategic option as it offered immediate concealment, and waiting for reinforcements provided the best chance for a successful extraction once the danger had passed. And here we go for this week's. The heroic rescue of the Ghost Army, 1917. Western Front. In 1917, the Western Front of World War I was a stalemate with both the Allied and Central powers entrenched in the trenches. As the war dragged on, both sides began to experiment with unconventional tactics to break the deadlock. One such tactic, dubbed the Ghost Army, was developed by the French Army. This army was an elite unit created to simulate a large force, drawing the enemy's attention and confusing their intelligence about troop movements. Well done. The Ghost Army's task was to create decoys using inflatable tanks, fake artillery, and deceptive radio communications. These decoys were deployed at night to simulate major Allied troop movements, which would then force the Germans to divert their forces to counter them. The Ghost Army would move in small numbers, maintaining stealth, while the real Allied forces advanced in different directions. Oh my God, thank you so much for this, Tolemykus. However, in late September 1917, a critical miscommunication caused the Ghost Army to be exposed. While preparing to simulate an attack near Verdun, a French messenger carrying vital information was captured by German forces, and after interrogation, the Germans learned of the plan to use fake troops. Really? With this new intelligence, the Germans aimed to intercept and destroy the Ghost Army before the ruse could be completed. The French commanders were made aware of the breach, and a rescue operation was needed to ensure the safe withdrawal of the decoy unit and prevent the Germans from exploiting the exposed tactic. How the hell are these things not made into movies is beyond me. The situation was further complicated by the disinformation campaigns already circulating, including false reports suggesting that a larger, real French attack was imminent. Time was short, and immediate action had to be taken to safeguard the operation and ensure that the Germans were misled. Question: if you were the leader of the Ghost Army rescue operation, what would be the best course of action to ensure the survival of the decoy unit and preserve the deception? This is just like the armchair general, except we have our own. This is so flipping cool. A, attack the German patrols directly, hoping to silence the German forces and buy enough time for the Ghost Army to escape. B, send false reports to the Ghost Army, directing them to a new location far from the German forces while coordinating a decoy operation to confuse the Germans. C, communicate with nearby French infantry units, asking them to lay down a smoke screen and engage in a feint attack, drawing the Germans away from the area. D, move the Ghost Army through underground tunnels, bypassing enemy patrols and taking them to a location far beyond the enemy, but far beyond the lines to regroup. Or E, relay a false radio message to the Germans, claiming that a new major Allied offensive is underway in a different sector, hoping to divert their attention away from the Ghost Army. Clues and false reports. And Meandering, oh, here we go again, because there is no F, but with Meandering Mike there is. F, send a crate of Ghost Toasties cereal to the Germans. That will distract them. They would, because they're starving to death, for God's sakes. German intelligence had intercepted a radio transmission indicated the presence of decoy units near Verdun. You'd probably get a message back of Meandering Mike saying, send more ghost toasties. Oh, Brian Jarvis, none really exclude any other choices, all 5. Oh, nice one. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. French command had sent misleading reports of reinforcements arriving on the front with a timing discrepancy, leading to confusion about whether the reinforcements were already in place or still en route. A local spy informed the Germans of the Ghost Army's exact location, but the information was inconsistent with reports from the French, leading some German commanders to question its authenticity. An Allied communication indicated that the Ghost Army would be relocating to a secondary site near the front, but enemy patrols had already been tipped off and were lying in wait. German forces mistakenly believed that the French were planning a full-scale attack using decoy units as a distraction, though this was not true and was part of the deception. Discussion topics, and oh my God, I almost revealed the answer. How did miscommunication between military units during World War I contribute to successful covert operations like the Ghost Army? In what ways did decoy tactics and misdirection play a role in military strategy during World War I? And how did these tactics evolve during the conflict? I hope, Brian Jarvis, you're here next week to talk about this as well. It would be great. Number 3, what risks did intelligence failures present to covert operations, and how did both sides attempt to counteract them? How do false reports and misleading intelligence affect the decision-making process during military operations in modern warfare? What were the psychological impacts of deception tactics on the soldiers and commanders involved in operations like the Ghost Army? Freaking awesome. Thanks again, Tolemykus. I'm going to pop this off for now. You know what, William Arends? Don't freak out on me. I'm going to do right now I'm going to go and pick up the latest ATA because I'd rather do that ATA because of the Zimmerman thingamajig. And while I'm doing that, all right, we're going to let you guys, there's nothing to see. Hold on here. So while I'm doing that, you guys can read perhaps the interview while I'm doing, yeah, that makes sense, while I queue up the other thing. Does that make sense? At least you guys are doing something while I'm doing whatever. Hold on here. There. Point, and I'll get rid of this so you guys can see that. And then, like I said, I'll make it. Oops, I did it again. I gotta stop doing that. I'm expanding the wrong one. Okay, you guys can see that, hopefully. There. I want to get to this is the neato thing. Hopefully you guys can read that little bit while I'm doing some other stuff. All right. Hopefully that kept you there. So I can pick up the William Arends' material. As we are 7 minutes left. My gosh. Haven't even gone to the week that was. All right, let's try here. Blank. You guys are reading that. I'll make it a little, I'll go, how about this? Beautiful looking map. You got to admit that. You guys probably know a lot about this type of stuff. There's no random events, blah, blah, blah. It's hard to estimate the timing point. Can you give us some clues about our alternative lines that there? Mind you, I've got to focus here, guys. Oh, thanks, William Arends. Oh gosh, but you got to remember, William Arends. It's just because I don't ever want you thinking I'm being ungrateful or a zillion other things. I'm super duper appreciative, and I don't want your efforts to go in vain. That's BS, you know. So I just want to make sure that I can read it properly. So we'll zip through, and like I said, if I find some, but I want to make sure that we don't. You're right. I mean, if I find it's a butcher's job because I haven't edited it properly, then we'll stop that. Okay, so you guys at least saw that little bit. We'll go to the week that was, then zip back to William Arends' thingamajig, and we'll go from there. All right. Yeah, that's it. All right. Oh goodness, I'm rather excited though about 2 weeks from now to do the community stuff due to the fact that I've got, like I said, well, I still haven't done it. The Deutschland stuff that Peter Alexander, one of my work colleagues, did some stuff for us, the audio thing. Then I still have the Dear Mabel thing that Wardrobe plays World War II. I want to pop in that stuff. We still have the other Tolemykus stuff to do. We've got the RPG thing to do for 2 weeks from now. I'd like to do that as well. I'd like to start off maybe the Armchair General thingamajig. That would be pretty cool. But anyway, shush. The week that was for March 2nd to March 8th, 1917. Here we go. March 2nd, the British line is advanced northwest of Puizu and north of Valencourt. Unsuccessful German counterattacks from an area near Bapaume. Fighting continues in southern Bukovina. Activity around Riga and the Narjoka River, where the Germans claim success. Turkish forces fall back towards Baghdad with one column from Hamadan and one column to Dalutabad. Russians occupy Hamadan. U.S. Congress passes the resolution for arming merchant ships. The State Council in Warsaw reported organizing a national army against Russia using Polish legions as cadres. French recruits of 1918 are called up. March 3rd, governments of Japan and Mexico deny having received proposals from Germany. Holy smokes, if you guys stick around for the war summary, I found out reading that stuff that Japan, I've got to find this out. Darn it, what's the name of the island? Turtle Island. Got to look that up. Or I have to look it up. It seems like Japan actually took Turtle Island, a Mexican island. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I was thinking later on, I'm like, oh boy, wouldn't that be an interesting little counter history thingamajig? A Mexican-Japanese war. Oh my gosh. Anyways, in the U.S. Senate, on obstructionist minority prevents the vote on president's armed neutrality policy. What in the world would the United States do with something like that? That would be interesting to know. In just 3 days, 15,000 British women volunteer for the national service. Kind of nice to hear about, due to the fact, like I said, about International Women's Day. Mr. Wilson takes the oath as President of the United States for the second time. Fierce fighting near Monastir with Italian troops reportedly involved in the action. A Russian gas attack north of Lake Narok is launched. And remember, that was one of the big, well, another Lake Narok, the Battle of Lake Narok before the Battle of the Brusilov offensive, which was a disaster. Not the Brusilov offensive. The other one was a disaster. And it caused a lot of interesting wrinkles with the Brusilov offensive. German attacks southwest of Brezhny and near Voruchin get underway. British progress north of Puizu and east of Gumkor. German war minister's announcement regarding prisoners under fire is made public. French coup de main between the Oise and the Ain, south of Mouvron. In the Verdun region, Germans gain footing in Corrières Wood. German front support lines are captured east of Bouchavazan. East of Gumkor, the British continue to advance. Russians continue to use gas and make an attack near Krivo, southeast of Vilna. On the Sereth, Romanians bombard the region of Kalieni. Enemy attack in force east of Gorizia and are driven back with heavy losses. I wonder, guys, if in some ways at some point in the war, if gas is kind of like, not saying it's more effective, but more economical, like to produce. And maybe that's why perhaps we're seeing more. I also know that dispersion mechanisms are, advancing as well. But I just find that interesting. And we seem to be seeing that more often. And yet also as well, I think that it's a side note thing. I remember hearing that the Americans, there was more American casualties due to gas than any other thing, which I thought was like, what? Austro-Hungarians massing in Trentino. Italians occupied the heights of Costa Bella Group in the Avisio. Naval aero bombs bomb Bribak, Saarbrücken. The Chinese cabinet crisis is due to a disagreement as to the policy with regard to Germany. Flemish deputation is received by the Chancellor. March 5th, engagement with Turkish rearguard at Laj, 9 miles southeast of Ctesiphon. Russians occupy Kangavar, south of Hamadan. Turkish forces abandon a strong position west of Shalal in the Sinai Peninsula. Austrian replied to U.S. memorandum in regards to unrestricted submarine warfare. I'm sure Austria is like, please don't go to war with us. You can nail Germany if you want. President Wilson's inaugural address at opening of his second term. Lord Milner returns from the Allied conference at Petrograd. Good timing, dude. Good timing. Sharp fighting in the Dolomites. German attack west of Pont-à-Mousson fails and attempts at recapture of Bouche-au-Bazin repulsed. British progress on Ancre and front towards Bapaume Ridge. March 6th, British line extends south of the Somme to the neighborhood of Reims, twice the length of a year before. Night attack on German positions south of Brzezny fails. British cavalry sighted 14 miles from Baghdad. U.S. Supreme Court decides the APOM case in favor of British owners. Whatever that, I don't know. March 7th, recruiting from the WAAC is temporarily completed. 114,803 enrolled for national service to date. Women, I don't know what it is. National manifestation at Sorbonne, Paris for triumph of right. 1920 classes called up in Austria. 3 Turkish columns in western Persia continue their retreat, converging on Baghdad Road at Kangavar, with the main column thrown from Asadabad Pass by the pursuing Russians. Proclamation by Ulema of Mecca to the faithful is published. In March 8th in Champagne, French regained most of salient lost on February 15th between Butte de Mesnil and Maison de Champagne. Slight British advance in the Ancre Valley. Great air activity along the Western Front. 5 enemy raids against British positions north of Volgren in the Messine region. Romanians lose 3 heights northwest of Okna, Moldavia. Germans repulse near Mitau in the Riga region. Several days shelling of Monastir reported. Tigris bridged and Turkish forces driven from the position 6 miles now from Baghdad. British effect a surprise crossing at the Diyala River, Mesopotamia. Russians on the road from Hamadan rout the Turkish forces who withdraw to Hajabad. Norwegian relief ship Storstad is torpedoed. Civil mobilization report is tabled in the French Senate with civilians of both sexes. 17,260 are included. Holy smokes. Speech by Sir E. Carson. I don't know who this person is. Interim report of the Dardanelles Commission is issued. The British government accepts Nizam of Hyderabad's offer of £100,000 towards the anti-submarine war campaign. Yeah, as if you're not going to accept money. Wireless communication between USA and Germany is, well, unless of course it causes neutrality issues or something like that, I guess. Wireless communication between USA and Germany is suspended. President Wilson decides to arm the American ships against submarines. Death of Count Zeppelin. That was so totally cool to find out about. And let's go to document 2 super quick. We'll just take William Arends. We'll just take a super quick look because we're 3 minutes in, but I'm going to make this nice and pretty for us for flipping sure. That I just want to make sure we do. I'm going to make it rid of me so that way it'll make it bigger. Boink. But I want to see if we can see some interesting stuff. Here's an excerpt from an article in the Berlin News from March 1st, 1917. It is about how State Secretary Zimmermann replied to the Budgetary Committee of the Reichstag concerning relations with the neutral kingdom of Denmark. Oh my gosh, man. The problem was that the Danes still wanted to trade. I just, like I said, William Arends, it's freaking me out. That wanted to trade with England through the restricted zone while continuing to trade with Germany through their mutual land and sea borders. Here, Zimmermann was not provocative, but rather obtuse, not wanting to upset the Danish government, even while his telegram had enraged President Wilson and the U.S. government. I know, William Arends, it's so weird that I'm tough. I want to see myself a little bit because it's just something that, like, I can, whatever. Anyways, it was like, I know people were like, you've got an out here. And Zimmermann almost like doubles down. It was like faceplant, like, what in the world are you thinking, dude? And the first 2 paragraphs are translated and the rest of the long article is paraphrased and condensed. A beautiful nonpartisan newspaper. State Secretary Zimmermann and the German-Danish interlude. So we'll do a little bit, William Arends, and then we're going to zip off into the after hours thing. But like I said, we'll start off with your thing next week. That's why I'm looking at it, 111. That's the way to go. Without qualification, because I really I love it, but I just run out of time. Without qualification, the official report over the confidential discussions of the Reich's Budgetary Committee have made known the explanation of State Secretary Zimmerman about the fact that the Danes dispatch at least 2 ships weekly laden with butter and cooking fats to England, despite the dubious contentions made by Denmark and allegedly also by Germany that should have given satisfaction to all sides. We, however, are doubtful about the trustworthiness of these reports. In any case, circles that range further than the Reichstag are much less content, also for the thoroughly confidential reasons that we have not heard of before, while yesterday the State Secretary Zimmerman was fully evasive when asked about the content of these discussions with the Danish government. He declared during the preliminary reading of the imperial budget that while I cannot disclose any specific contents, I can say this much, that the arrangement should altogether be finally made to the benefit of our economic and military interests. This is to be done after the thorough accounting of the government department and its corresponding opinions, even though it temporarily has itself been bound in reference to the limited amount of available foodstuffs. However, this should not bring one to fear that this arrangement of our own efforts against England meant to block their commerce could in any case be so full of holes as to be easily bypassed. This temporary binding is the sole comfort fact to the Danes so that negotiations could proceed further concerning the release of their ships from the English harbors. The only desire of the Danish is to travel near to or through our U-boat restricted zone. If we are approved of their carrying foodstuffs to England, that would take Denmark off the hook, allowing them to show that they are not being coerced to their face, that we, the Germans, are to be the only buyers of what they have to sell on the market. Therewith, its goods would not go to waste while being subordinated as a child subjected to an illegal, if mild, political consequence. All right, we're going to stop here because, stop the screen, due to the fact that I'm a little worried that I'm not sure how long the after hours show is. And like I said, I've got a lecture at 1:30, so I'm a little concerned I may not be able to do both, and I don't want to miss the lecture. All right, so trust me, William Arends, I say that all the time, but we are going to get your stuff. That's for flipping sure next week. Thanks for the soap. Next 2 Saturdays, I'm on a plane. Oh, you lucky devil. I was going to say, I thought maybe that's what you were going to say, that it was going to be 29 degrees Celsius, but you're saying see you on the 29th. Yes, Harro, Bosma, thank you. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Hope you guys have a great remainder of your weekend. Great week. About, like I said, I'm going to pop on the after hours thingamajig, and away we go. And that's it. Thanks again. Hold on here. I got to get to it, for goodness sakes. Oops. I forgot to, good stuff. Oh, what did you say? Off to get off my couch. Oh, great. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks again, Brian R. Smith, for all you do, man. Hold on here. I'm going to put in the, I got to move it over. There we go. And what is Brian Jarvis says, what is this after hours that you speak of? You're just about to find out. Hold your horses. So what I did, Brian Jarvis, is the fact that we were, well, as you can see right now, it's only supposed to be, the show's only supposed to be an hour long. We're 8 minutes in. And we were starting to clue in that there was a heck of a lot of material that was just not being done. So what ended up happening was, like going, okay, this big chunk of material, which I used to just condense. I'm like, now I read it out. So essentially what it is the after hour show is the war summary. So I go to the Globe and Mail database, which is by ProQuest, which actually Meandering Mike used to work for. And I go down there and I go for the week and I look up a thing which is called the war summary. And I take all the thing for that week and I stick them all together, I collate them, produce images, and then I read them out ahead of time, make a video, record it, and then put it in on YouTube. And then I put that in on the tail end of the hour-long show. So that way, if anybody wants to stick around, they can just listen or, read and listen or whatever to what's been going on in the war summary. It's kind of dry in a weird way. But the nice thing is that since I consider it like an after-hour show or whatever, it's like if I start going off the rails and ad-libbing a heck of a lot more than I do in the regular show and editorializing like a maniac, such is life. And I turn into you as well. I'm just a texter, so which is kind of nice. I like that level playing field. It's nice. So, anyways, that's what we're about to do. If you stick around, you get to listen to me read out what some reporters were talking about. And it's just amazing the amount of material that they have, and it's so clue. It's fantastic. So bonus, yes, it is. It really is nice, quite nice. And like I said, the nice thing is, Brian Jarvis, is that it's pretty, like, it's low key. I just go, whatever happens, happens. But some really, really, really good information that's brought in there, as well as you're going to start noticing a lot of the content. The other viewers like William Arends, Meandering Mike, Charles Latora, Tolemykus, they start adding in a lot of good, informative, because I'll start asking a lot of questions like, what is this? What is that? I don't know anything about this. And these guys just chime in and start. And so there's a lot of side discussion that goes on while it's being read out, as well as people like Zoe Dufour are like, oh, this is perfect timing. I just have it going on while I'm doing my housework or whatever. I'm not even watching your thing, which is totally cool. Okay, so I'm just going to put it in there and boink. All right, so here we go. And like I said, I'm just turning into you people now, which is wonderful. Boink. I'm completely disappearing. All right, and I'm turning it off. And great to see you guys again. Zoe Dufour, you're crafting today, you son of a bee. Well done. I hope you have a fantastic afternoon. I love saying that. It's sunny out. All right, great time, guys. See you later. All right, here we go. The war summary for March 2nd to the 8th, 1917. South of Souchez, the gateway through the last spurs of the heights of Artois into the plain of Lens, the British gave the enemy a dose of gas and then raided his trenches, capturing some prisoners. The heights of Vimy tower about 400 feet above Souchez. Northeast of Gand-Vichy at Lens and La Bassée, successful raids were carried out. Governed by their guns, the Germans succeeded in entering the British lines at Ablancourt and Raincourt, but were driven out in a counterattack. The German retirement on the Western Front continues. Heavy guns on rails are covering the enemy's retreat. British pressure on the retiring foe continues at various strategical points. Germany admits the withdrawal on both banks of the Ancre, which the official report says is for special reasons. The British War Office review of operations does not profess to know where the enemy's retirement will end, but adds that this will not be beyond the point which they are forced to leave either by the economic necessity of saving their losses or from a position which superior location prevents them from holding. In the House of Commons, the financial secretary to the War Office, while emphasizing the moral effects upon Germany of the retreat, admitted the possibility of the enemy's retirement being due to Germany's desire to husband her strength for a big blow on some of the Allied fronts. The Turkish retreat has degenerated into disorganized flight. The defenders of Kut El Amara, who retired up the Tigris, have been overtaken and smashed in a rearguard action 30 miles up the river. The broken remnants of the demoralized foe are making for Baghdad. More than 2,500 prisoners have been taken in the past 4 days fighting. Since December 30th, when the British offensive began, 5,000 Turks have been captured. The number of the enemy killed and wounded is 20,000. This is a disastrous blow to German and Turkish prestige in the Near and Middle East, considering I only think they had 60,000 troops, for Christ's sakes, in that area. There's no doubt in England as to the complete ascendancy, moral and military, of the British Army operating on the Tigris. The British advance is along the high side of the river, which is free from marshes. Gunboats and cavalry continue the pursuit. Among the booty taken were 30 pontoons and bridging material, a large river vessel, 6 guns, 3 mortars, 8 mine throwers, and a quantity of equipment and munitions. Sounds pretty big. The Baghdad Railway, the great trunk route through Asia Minor, was at the beginning of the war in process of completion. It is likely that Germany, recognizing its military value in this war, has taken steps to bridge the gaps in the line. How far the railway now extends is not known, but even in its incomplete form, it will serve as a valuable adjunct in the transport of British and Russian supplies. Starting at Haidar Pasha on the Bosphorus, the western terminus, the railway has been completely constructed and opened up as far as the Taurus Mountains, where a tunnel 18 miles long was in course of construction before the outbreak of the war. When the tunnels through the Taurus and the Amanus range of hills between Adana and Aleppo are completed, through railway communication will have been established as far as Ras El Ain, the present railhead of the western section of the line. South from Ras El Ain to Mosul and thence to Crete, a distance of over 400 miles, is an unfinished section. With the eastern section in the hands of the British and the Tigris and flood, it is clear that the British have an advantage over the Turks in the time required to bring reinforcements and supplies from the Suez, as compared with Turkish reinforcements and supplies from Smyrna, Damascus, or Constantinople. If, however, through established railway communication between Berlin and Constantinople, Germany has enabled Turkey to complete the western section of the Baghdad Railway by sending through supplies, the strategical advantage formerly possessed by Britain will have passed to Turkey and the Central Powers. Hold on, I'm just going to take a sip of water. Organizing conquered ground entails tremendous labor, of which little notice is taken in reports from the Western Front. Once a position is captured, steps must, this, I've really enjoyed this paragraph actually, because it always, also points the, pardon the pun, points to the fact that the trenches are pointed in the wrong way, often when one side takes them. I mean, you know what I mean? Once a position is captured, steps must be taken to prepare against it, counterattack by men or guns. Machine guns have to be placed in position and communication with the rear established. I just found this game, it's just awesome. This is a really cool paragraph. Flares, rockets, and telephones play a big part in coordinating artillery and infantry at this critical stage. The telephone is the nerve center. In an advance like the present, the big guns leave their emplacements and advance by rail in the open. The German guns retire by the same means, an easy mark for airplane scouts who are the eyes of the Allied guns. In the last big advance in the Somme region, it was found that the German military railways back of their evacuated lines were of a narrower gauge than that of the Allied railways and could not be linked up. Consequently, new lines had to be laid over the conquered territory. Interesting. The Scandinavian countries are watching developments in the war zones with increasing anxiety. The mental attitude towards war of the Scandinavian is one of repugnance. Radical in temperament and outlook, he is more intent upon his welfare than upon dreams of conquest or empire. Of all the Scandinavian countries, Denmark has most to fear. Added to her dread of the Prussian at the beginning of the war was the uncertain factor of Sweden's relation to Russia. The meeting of the 3 kings of Scandinavia at Malmo was an outward sign of Scandinavian unity in this war, a unity born of the necessities of the hour. But it is Denmark that bears the brunt of anxiety as the key to the Baltic. The possibility of a German attack is ever present. As the Dardanelles of the north, the time may come when Germany will order Denmark to close the Sound, and failure to obey will mean invasion. The war strength of Denmark is about 250,000 men. If attacked, the Danes would withdraw from the mainland and concentrate on the defense of Copenhagen. Since the opening day of the war, preparations have been made to cut off the city by water. I was going to say this, though, on a side note. I found it interesting when they mentioned the Dardanelles of the north. I'm like, who invaded the Dardanelles of the south? I know it was Turkish controlled already, but the British were the ones to get it. You know what I'm saying? This seems interesting. The king's congratulations, because as far as I'm concerned, the Brits could have invaded Denmark just as well as the Germans. The king's congratulations to the German General Haig's army strikes a confident note. To the steady and persistent pressure of the British troops, His Majesty attributes the abandonment by the Germans of their carefully prepared and strongly fortified positions. From such a quarter, This interpretation of the German retirement shows that in the highest councils of the War Office, the enemy's withdrawal is regarded at its face value as an evidence of German weakness. I just find this really fascinating. This is really neat way people are seeing this. This is emphasized by General Maurice, Director of Military Operations at the War Office, who in an interview stated that the backward movement of the Germans is a retirement forced upon them. The British advance on the heels of the retiring foe continued yesterday north of Valancourt and Aucourt and northwest of Puiseux-Aumont. In the Ancre region, local German offensives northeast of Guitcourt and northwest of Ligny-Thiloy were repulsed, the British capturing 128 prisoners, 3 machine guns and 4 trench mortars. At Angres, Calonne, and northeast of Luce, the German trenches were raided and prisoners brought back. North of Arras, at a point southeast of Ralancourt, an attempt to enter the British trenches was foiled. The German artillery shelled the British lines at Sailly-Salicelle, Armentières, and Ypres with more than wanted activity. The German retreat is slow and gradual. They're lying along the Essart, Bouquois, Lupart, Wood-Bapon line, being strongly held by machine guns and bombers. A heavy fog favors the enemy in his backward movement. The British advance is made through forests of barbed wire. The dash for Baghdad, before the Turks have had time to recover from the smashing defeats of the past week, has brought the British flying column within striking distance of Ctesiphon, the scene of General Townshend's victory over the Turks in 1915. Over 7,000 prisoners have been captured since the offensive began in December last. Since February 24th, when the attack on the Turkish defenses at Kut El Amara began, over 4,000 prisoners have been taken. On Tuesday last, the Turks, utterly disorganized, passed through Azizi, halfway between Kut and Baghdad. In their flight, the Turks have abandoned a considerable quantity of arms and equipment. At Ctesiphon, 18 miles outside the city of the Caliphs, a stand may be made to cover the Turkish retreat and to hold up the British advance. Baghdad spreads out in the suburbs along the Tigris and lies on both sides of the river. The two parts of the city are joined by pontoon bridges. At this point, the Tigris is 275 yards wide and very deep. The ancient ruins of Babylon and Ctesiphon have been plundered for centuries to provide bricks for the building of the city. In olden times, Baghdad was intersected by canals and aqueducts that brought the water of the Euphrates and Tigris through the narrow, irregular streets and into the houses. These have all disappeared, and water today is carried through the city in goat skins on the backs of men and donkeys. With the experience of Townshend's advance to guide him, it is likely that General Maud will be supported by a powerful flotilla of gunboats. The Tigris is navigable from the Persian Gulf to the great dams of north of Baghdad at a point 30 miles south of Mosul, where the ruins of ancient Nineveh may be seen. The natives use river rafts of wood supported on inflated skins. Hold on, more water. The United States is on the brink of war. Developments up to midnight in Washington indicate that the purpose of the Republicans and many of the Democrats in the Senate is to force an extra session. Leading Republican senators contend that the upper house must be in session in view of the grim probabilities of war. Mr. Page, the American ambassador in London, had a long interview yesterday with Mr. Balfour, the Secretary for Foreign Affairs. China will break with Germany and enter into the war if negotiations now in progress meet with success. Germany's exclusion from the Far East is part of the settled policy of Britain, Russia, and Japan. China has not forgotten the mailed fist speech of the Kaiser during the Boxer Rising of the methods, or the mailed list or something. No, I think it's fist, of the methods of peaceful penetration pursued by the government at Berlin. Germany sees the Boxer Rising and the murder of 2 Lutheran missionaries as a pretext for establishing herself athwart the southern approaches to Peking, from which she was driven in the early days of the present war. Germany's aim, as proclaimed by the Kaiser in his notorious Keil speech, was to set up the Yellow Peril bogey in order to head a crusade against China in the name of Christendom. Wildness, man. Germany has been found out. If the Allied powers to whom the Boxer indemnity is payable remit this annual impost of $30 million, China, it is believed, will throw in her lot with the Allies. Already she has lent valuable aid by sending 100,000 coolies to Europe to assist France and Britain in agricultural and other non-combatant occupations. The drowning of they mentioned the drowning of darn it starts with an A. Shits and ladders. I'll find it. The name will come to me. That was the one in the Mediterranean. Remember, I was mentioning. I was saying that. Why didn't they mention that? They mentioned there was a lot of colonial troops, Senegalese troops that drowned, but they didn't mention any of the Chinese laborers, and now they do. Now, wicked. The drowning of. Already she has lent valuable aid by sending 100,000 coolies to Europe to assist France and Britain in agricultural and other non-combatant occupations. The drowning of many of these on the way to France, owing to German submarine attacks, first aroused the hostility of China and led her to contemplate the possibility of joining the Allies against the Central Powers. The Adolphus, or something like that? On the Romanian frontier in southern Bukovina, heavy fighting is in progress for possession of the heights on the Yukobny-Kipolong Road. Fighting also is in progress in Galicia, where the Germans claim to have stormed the Russian positions on the Narayuvka River and taken 170 prisoners. Oh, can't wait until I can remember that word, the ship's name for sure. The two British advances were made on Saturday and Sunday between Gomcourt and Puizu, the ground being stubbornly yielded by the German rear guards. On Saturday, the advance was a quarter of a mile along a 5-mile front. The further advance yesterday was 2/3 of a mile on a 2-mile front east of Gomcourt. Between Paron and Sailly on the Paron-Bapaume front, the British stormed and captured the enemy's front and support trenches east of Bouchavez-Ney on a front of 1,200 yards. Nearly 200 prisoners, 5 machine guns, and 2 trench mortars were taken in the 2 days fighting. Bouchavez, maybe, I think, could have been better. Well, I'll find out later. East of Gomcourt, the enemy continues to retire. Oh my gosh, and I had to say the word again, darn it. Counterattacks in the Gomcourt angle and at Bouchavezen failed to dislodge the British, who inflicted heavy losses on the enemy. East of Sailly-Salicelle, the British were driven out of a trench, but immediately recovered it in a counterattack. Northwest of Rouen, east of Gambichy and La Bassée, strong enemy patrols tried to reach the British lines, but were driven off. Oh my gosh. It was the, come on, one of the Three Musketeers, darn it. President Wilson's statement is issued late last night, denounced a handful of reclaimants who had held up his armed neutrality bill. He has called a special meeting of the Senate today to revise the rules and to make it possible to expedite the passing of this war measure and so save the country from disaster. Oh, darn it, it's right on the tip of my tongue. The Three Musketeers, for goodness sakes, the A guy. The decisive phase of the war will begin this spring, according to the French Minister of Public Instruction. I think he was the romantic dude. He was careful to explain that by the word decisive, he did not mean brief. He predicted, however, that Germany was preparing for a supreme effort. Another significant phrase of the minister was that the nearer we approach the denouement, the harder will be the task. The German, oh my God, it was almost on there again. Withdrawal on the Ancre, in the opinion of the associated correspondent of the British headquarters, is due to the effective work done by the British artillery. Inspecting some of the evacuated lines in front of Bapaume, he found that the enemy positions were smashed to pieces by the incessant British fire, while communication trenches for bringing up supplies had been battered out of recognition and had long since ceased to serve the purpose of the enemy. Oh my God, more and more my brain is trying to do the other part, not read this. This is terrible. Some of the German prisoners cut off by the British barrage back off their trenches had been without food for 48 hours. The British outposts are now established well ahead of the old German frontline positions. The abandoned ground is covered by hundreds of German dead. The withdrawal of the enemy's lines is entailing heavy losses. Scores of freshly fallen German soldiers were found behind their lines. The Germans apparently have stiffened their rear lines with their best troops, the advance of the British being stubbornly contested. Oh my God. Come on, Porthos. Is it the Athos? I think it's the Athos. We've got to check it up. I think the ship is the Athos. Oh my gosh, I think I did it. Thank goodness. I can let my mind rest now. The midnight French statement reports violent artillery actions east of the Meuse in the Bois Corriere sector. In the Verdun zone north of EU, the Germans attacked after a heavy preliminary bombardment. The French first lines at Deveterio were entered, but the enemy was ejected in a counterattack. West of the Somme in the Malincourt region, the French guns made good practice against the German batteries. In the direction of Boureuil, the French surprised an enemy trench and took some prisoners. Activity on the French front was resumed on Saturday after a long period of comparative calm. Between the Oise and the Aisne, the enemy trenches south of Neuvrin were penetrated as far as the second line. The French destroyed the German works in this sector. The other zones, including Alsace, both sides were active. Air squadrons dropped bombs on important German organizations. In some military quarters, the opinion prevails that Germany's withdrawal and shortening of her line on the Western Front is the prelude to a concentrated blow at the French army. A desire to wipe out the humiliation of Verdun may dominate her military councils. The Germany is obsessed by the idea that what his country did in 1870, it should accomplish today. But a new France has arisen. New technologies too, man. The capture of Hamadan, Persian city near the Turkish frontier, is great importance as showing the active cooperation of the Russians in the Mesopotamia campaign. The Turkish troops are in retreat, pursued by Russian cavalry. And I think actually you've got to admit, it was more the Germans seem to have learned a hell of a lot more than the French, at least from what I can see from the Franco-Prussian War. I'm just saying, that's what at least I see anyways. They seem to have clued in a little bit better than, shush. Hamadan is about 100 miles from the border of Mesopotamia and over 200 miles northeast of Baghdad, 80 miles northwest of Hamadan, within 2 miles of Bijar, and about 100 miles from the border. The Russians captured the village of Kanikali. In 1915, when the Townsend advance on Baghdad began, the Russians advanced westward from Hamadan in the direction of Baghdad, but retired after Townsend's retreat, leaving the Turks in possession. Hamadan is that, local tradition says that in Hamadan are the tombs of Esther and Mordecai. Hamadan is a city of 40,000 inhabitants and is on the caravan route from Baghdad. Through this city, Turkey in 1914 conveyed arms and supplies from Baghdad to the Persian rebels who were helping stir up Persia to throw in her lot with Germany. Like all Germany's intrigues, it ended in failure. In pursuit of the Turks, up the Tigris, 3 British gunboats succeeded in overtaking the broken remnant of a Kut garrison north of Shumran on Monday last. It was at this point the old gunboat Firefly, abandoned in the last advance, was retaken. The gunboats inflicted heavy losses on the foe and captured or destroyed 4 Turkish gunboats and a number of barges laden with ammunition. It is evident that the remnant of Kut garrison will not be able to offer much help in the defense of Baghdad. Oh, brother, another game waiting right there. The Chinese president has refused to endorse the conclusion of his cabinet that China should join with the United States in breaking off relations with Germany. As a result of the president's refusal, the premier resigned. The Chinese assembly supports the recommendation of the cabinet. Darn it, I could have used China as a trivia question too. On receipt of the premier's resignation, President Li Wanhong at once sent messengers to Tianjin to induce the premier to return to Peking. The president has taken the trouble to explain that the opposition to the action of the cabinet was due to the premier and his ministers committing the country to a line of action which he held to be within the jurisdiction of the president only. Should China ultimately determine to break with Germany, she will not be without an army. Her national militia, the reorganization of which was begun about 5 years ago, has called into existence a well-trained body of men. The only drawback to their efficiency is the lack of modern weapons. The militia was raised in order to assert China's rights in Mongolia and Manchuria. It is the first fruits of the anti-foreign movement that arose out of the Boxer Revolt. I don't know anything about that. For the time being, apparently China has composed her differences with Russia and Japan, except it doesn't. as far as I know, it just had something bad to do with the Brits. And I might be wrong about that as well. The loss of a British destroyer in the North Sea is reported by the Admiralty. All hands perished. It is believed the destroyer struck a mine. That's why I love having you guys around, because you fill me in with all the stuff that you know, aka the Boxer Revolt there. It is surprising more losses of this kind have not taken place. From Berlin comes a report of the sinking on February 24th of a big transport in the Mediterranean with about 500 colonial troops on board. This is supposed to be the liner Stottendam, a Holland-American boat building in England when war was declared. On the other vessels reported lost, the only one not previously listed is the Italian steamer Frudanza. North of Peronne, the Germans tried to retake the positions captured on the previous day by the British east of Buchauvezin, but were driven back with loss, leaving some prisoners in the hands of General Haig's troops. East of Guncourt, the British improved and strengthened the new positions. Southeast and northeast of Arras and southeast of Ginchy, the British carried out successful raids, inflicting heavy losses on the enemy. East of Ypres, the explosion of an enemy mine took place without damage to the British trenches. Great, and there's another thing we're gonna have to look up is mining. It's something I've just completely just right over my head. Just barely looked up. I just noted. I just see it. I just mention it in glancing things is what I'm trying to say. Great aerial activity was a feature of the day. 6 of the German machines were brought down and 8 were damaged and compelled to descend. Of the British airplanes, 2 were brought down and 5 are missing. British aircraft continue to do good work in locating enemy positions and bombing important enemy works. The French recovered lost ground yesterday in the Verdun region north of Bois de Corrières on the right bank of the Meuse. On the previous day, the enemy subjected the French lines in this sector to a violent bombardment, which was followed up by an infantry attack. Part of the trenches is still in possession of the Germans. West of Pont at Mouzon, hold on here, which is 17 miles northwest of Nancy, the Germans failed in an attempt to penetrate the French lines north of Fleury. The day was comparatively calm at other points along the lines. The German offensive at Verdun was resumed at the end of January when an attack in force to the west bank of the Meuse was made in celebration of the Kaiser's birthday. The lost positions at that time, happy birthday, Kaiser. The lost positions at the time were recovered by the French. Failing in their intention to weaken the French concentration on the east of the Meuse, the enemy is now endeavoring to neutralize the advantages which the French possess at the opening of the spring campaign. More water is coming. The Arras-Bapaume-Peronne line marks, in the opinion of military experts, the limit of the German voluntary retirement, according to a cable dispatch from Stuart Lyon, the Canadian press representative. The vigorous British thrusts at the Bapaume-Peronne line, which opened at the beginning of February with a successful advance on Le Transroi, show that General Haig is determined to make this section of the German line as untenable as that on the Ancre when the British advance eastward from Beaucourt and northward from Courcelette and Thiepval forced the Germans to abandon Grandcourt and make preparations for the present withdrawal. The British now hold the line down to the outskirts of Peronne. Its strategic importance to the Germans is due to the situation at the angle where the Somme River turns eastward. Before the war, Peronne was a third-class French fortress town. It was sacked by von Kluck's troops after the Allied retreat from Mons, when the retiring armies tried in vain to make a stand on the Peronne-Combles-Bapaume line. The German plan of campaign is no doubt outlined on the walls of General Haig's headquarters. Where Germany will strike is of supreme interest. Lovat Fraser, who knows the battlefronts in the game of war, suggests that Hindenburg is still wedded to the idea of a decisive campaign on the Eastern Front. This is fascinating. By opposing to General Haig a shorter and stronger line, Hindenburg, it is contended, may elect to gamble on a successful Western defensive campaign. I mean, come on, man. They're trying to figure out what the other side is thinking, and they're so close. It's awesome. And you know what's happening on the other side, too. It's just so cool. The one factor in the situation that may upset this calculation is British superiority in gunfire. In another quarter, it is suggested that Mackinson, again, cheapers jumping, that guy's all over the place, will lead a big Austrian offensive against Italy, which is now being planned by the German headquarters staff, which it was. Remember, I think the Crown Prince was a big proponent of that, and it didn't go that way. The guy with the big-ass mustache there. Is he a Crown Prince? No, is he the Ruprecht dude, I do believe. Falkenhayn may also take part in this offensive, in preparation for which it is reported German troops have been transferred to the Trentino. I think Falkenhayn ends up going down to not Mesopotamia, but he goes down to Palestine, I think, eventually. Austro-Italian activity continues on the Trentino and Julian fronts. Artillery duels grew in intensity from the Travagualo Valley to the upper Cordovale in the Trentino. In the Avisio zone along the upper reaches of the Spellegrino Valley, the Italians captured a strong position on the Costa Bella group at an altitude of 8,000 feet. 61 prisoners and a machine gun were taken. There's nothing spectacular in the reports of the fighting in this region, but it requires little imagination to realize the enormous difficulties that confront Cadorna's mountain troops. Oh yeah, they get into the Alpine stuff. It's pretty cool. Where are we here? There's a meagerness of detail about the Italian dispatches that gives no indication of the arduous character of the Italian advance amidst the terrific peaks that rise thousands of feet and to which the Austrians cling like wild goats. Every yard of these strongholds has to be wrestled from nature and under the muzzles of Austrian guns. I love this, though. At the beginning, he's like, there's nothing spectacular in the reports of the fighting. I'm like, what the hell? Look, put that in the backdrop. Were the coming Russian and Italian offensive once more to synchronize, the road may be open to a real invasion of Austria from the west. Italy, like France, no longer fears the military power of her traditional foe. Okay, it's not here, but there's going to be a later paragraph. It gets into the talking about some Alpini troops climbing it barefoot. I'm like, what the hell? Anyways, you'll see. President Wilson has referred to his legal advisors to question whether, without resort to Congress, he has the power to order the arming of all merchantmen in the carrying out of his declared policy of armed neutrality. Although no reports were received up to midnight regarding the submarine campaign, the British Admiralty issued a statement showing that over 18,000 vessels of all nationalities cleared and arrived at British ports during February. That's monstrous. In the same period, 67 British vessels attacked by submarines succeeded in escaping. More than 2 million tons of shipping, in addition to contracts placed in the United States, is at present building in British yards. The general shipping situation from the Admiralty point of view is considered quite satisfactory. Yeah, I'm sure the Germans are like, shit. The resentments in Japan over the aspersions cast upon her good faith is not unnatural. Germany is the evil genius. Oh, put your finger to your mouth, the pinky to the mouth, who both before and since the war has tried to stir up racial discord between the East and the West. The recent revelations concerning the attempt of the German embassy at Washington to excite Mexico and Japan against the United States are in keeping with Germany's diplomatic antecedents. Anti-Japanese sentiment through German agencies has been propagated even in England. It required the evidence of Japan's good faith in this war to convince some of the British people that tales of Japanese intrigue were unfounded. How the sensation mongers have succeeded in the United States is shown in the Allies' exclusion bill of California. That would be interesting to read or find out about. It's probably obviously got something to do with no Japanese there. One notable example of the wholesale manufacture of anti-Japanese feeling in Western America was the reported capture by the Japanese of Turtle Bay, Mexico. Details, that'd be interesting to find out. Details were published of the seizure of the harbor and its approaches by 5 Japanese warships and the landing from Japanese transports of 4,000 troops. Oh my God, would that be such a weird war? The Japo-Mexico War, or whatever, I don't know what the hell would you call it. How did they do it? The Russo. Anyways, I'll have to go and look it up. But wouldn't that be wild? Details were published of the seizure of the harbor and its approaches by 5 Japanese warships and the landing from Japanese transports of 4,000 troops. That's nothing to sneeze at. When investigated, it was found that the Japanese cruiser Asama, while assisting the British in hunting German raiders and cruisers off the Pacific coast, ran aground at Turtle Bay. The attempts to salve the stranded cruiser were interpreted by an enterprising American correspondent as a defiant challenge to the Monroe Doctrine. Yeah, the war has enabled Japan to settle old scores with Germany, but the slanders still circulate. No wonder the Japs are indignant. Remember that? I think the Monroe Doctrine's got something to do. Remember War of 1812? You don't mess with, we don't mess with you in Europe, and you don't mess with us in North America, kind of thing. I think something like that. And that's why the whole Zimmerman thing was like, whoa, what are you doing? Look, I'll just shush. Further British progress is reported from the Anchor region. The enemies continuing to yield to the pressure of General Haig's hammer blows directed against the Essal, Bouquet, Lupard, Wood, Bapaume line. Good Lord, on which the German front is resting. Yesterday, the British troops occupied ground northeast of Ile. Along the High Ridge Road at this point runs eastward north of Bapaume. Fresh ground was also occupied north of Puiseux-au-Mont, threatening the enemy's possession at Bouquoy. Oh yeah, I will mention it, but I'm not sure if I will. I am trying to do a couple of things I have noticed. I'm like, gotta stop doing this, Chris. One is stop pointing while I'm doing the live stream. It's like, jeepers, stop pointing at the camera. And the second thing I have to stop doing is telling people what to do. It's like, don't tell people what to do. I can suggest, but that's it. Just stop saying, go to this website or whatever. It's like, just shush. On the, I don't want to be a cocky, well, I am a cocky little dude, and there's not much I can do about that, but I mean, whatever. How about a insensitive cocky little, oh, brother. On the Perron-Bapaume front, the British continued to drive wedges in the enemy's line. At Bouchauvasen, the enemy is making determined efforts to recover the ground lost in this sector. East, imagine a drinking game. Every time I say that word differently, you have to take a drink. You'd be hammered by now. East of Bouchauvasen, the British raided the German trenches and later repulsed a massed counterattack of the enemy against the positions recently captured by General Haig's troops. The continuous eastward pressure is growing more intense and may end soon in further withdrawals by the enemy. Russians defeated the Turks in an engagement southwest of Hamadan, an important Persian town on the caravan route to Baghdad. The Turks are in full retreat in this region. No word has been received of the British advance up the Tigris, where General Ahmad's force is moving against the last Ottoman stronghold in Mesopotamia. Turkey is reeling under the blows of fate. Since the capture of Trebizond by the Russians, there is a virtual blockade of the Black Sea, which deprives Constantinople of her coal supply. In the Turkish capital, peace at any price would be welcomed by the people who have good reason to distrust Germany. I probably won't even get to that either in the live stream, but I hope, God, I do. So I'll mention it now. I saw an article yesterday or today on the high price of potatoes. Everybody knows potatoes are crazy. There's a store in Canada, 7 really good looking potatoes. He's going to trade them in for a car. He thinks he's going to get it. I think he will too. In the Verdun region, north of Coriol Wood, the Germans made another attempt to retake the positions reoccupied by the French, but the enemy attacks broke down under a withering fire. I'm not kidding about the car. North of Douaumont, the guns were actively engaged. Aerial bombing attacks on German organizations in the rear did much damage to the railway stations, factories, and aircraft hangars. The Crown Prince strove in vain for 2 years to break through the French defenses between Saint-Mihiel and Verdun. That's not, is it the same Crown Prince? No, I don't think so. I'll find out. I should find out. Then, because there was 2 there, weren't there? There was also the Kaiser's son. The Germans abandoned their former plans that commenced on February 21st of last year. Terrific artillery offensive with 8-inch and 12-inch guns across the difficult ground of the north of Verdun, sweeping out the existence of the French trenches at Coriol Wood and crippling up the massive defenses of Bois du Hamon. On a front on 1,000 yards with a depth of about 500, The enemy's heavy guns rained 80,000 shells in 6 hours. Holy shoots and ladders. Mind you, remember, it was something like, what, nearly 1,000,009 for the opening day of Verdun. Of course, probably a much wider area. The situation today is somewhat different from that of February. Oh, there we go. Of that of February 1916. Then, with all the advantages in gunfire in their favor, the Germans met with terrific losses in the attempt to smash their way through this. Oh, they're not. Well, I was talking about something else, obviously. But the same thing, but just saying that the Germans, just shut up, met with the terrific losses in the attempt to smash their way through this narrow and difficult front and failed to attain their objective. With the gunfire, the French batteries equal, if not superior, to any concentration that may be brought to bear by the enemy. The renewed offensive in this region will be followed with keen interest. And we're going to hear about General Nivelle for quite a while. General Nivelle, the French commander on whom France now relies for victory on the Western Front, has had an exceptionally brilliant career as a soldier. Not about to in a little bit. Still under 60 years of age, he was singled out by General Joffre since the war as the best general in the French army. He was transferred to Verdun May last and justified the confidence reposed in him by recapturing Douaumont in the following October. On December 15th, the day after his appointment as commander-in-chief in succession to General Joffre, the General Nivelle crowned his work at Verdun by breaking through the German lines and driving the Crown Prince's troops back to the position they held in the previous February. The submarine menace has taken a strange turn. I did find this cool. This is really neat. For several days, no shipping losses have been reported, although there is evidence that the U-boats continue to lurk in the tracks of British and neutral vessels. The situation is unchanged in the United States. A feature of the submarine blockade is the effect it has had in preventing American shipping putting to sea, a moral and material triumph for Germany. German military movements in Belgium are now carried out with the greatest secrecy. A report from Holland states the German reinforcements from the Balkans and the Russian front have arrived. Masses of troops, artillery, and supplies are being hurried to the Western Front. The hospitals have been combed, and men in the convalescent stage have been ordered to the front. Deserters and refugees who have reached Holland tell of seething revolt among the German soldiers and the circulation of propagandist literature denouncing the German rulers. Remember, too, though, a lot from what I've been reading, like even in the Ernst Younger there, the Storm of Steel book, he was mentioning when they went back to the Hindenburg line there, a lot of the German troops were not morale hurt, because now it's like, wait a minute, why are we falling back? The British mission to Russia, headed by, it does, I mean, obviously it does affect your psyche. Headed by Lord Milner, a member of the British War Cabinet, especially when you're on the offensive for how long, it's like, geez, has resulted in decisions of the greatest importance. Although confronted by exceptional difficulties, Russia shows no weakening in her determination to see the war through. One of the main objects of the conference at Petrograd was to assure Russia of British financial aid. And my God, tomorrow is, I think it's March 9th is the beginning of the February Revolution. Holy moly. On the British front, the day was comparatively quiet. The official report states that no change in it was some viewer, commenter on one of the daily headlines mentioned it. He was thinking it was for today. And darn, I have to go look it up. But thank you for mentioning that. I don't know if you watched this as well or whatever. The official report states that no change in the situation has taken place during the past 24 hours. At Ypres, the British guns silenced German batteries that were shelling the city. Farther south, enemy trenches west of Messines were bombarded. British flying squadrons met with considerable opposition in carrying out successful reconnaissances. Valuable information was required despite the large number of machines sent up by the Germans. Enemy billets and dumps were effectively bombed. Hold on, more water. Not much left of water, too. The advance on the Tigris has reached Laj, 9 miles southeast of Ctesiphon and 28 miles from Baghdad. On Monday afternoon, the British cavalry engaged the rear guard of the retreating Turks. 80 miles from Kut El Amara, the British will find strongest opposition at Ctesiphon, where it is almost certain the Turks will assemble in force to bar the approaches to Baghdad. The Russians have captured the Turkish positions at Asadabad, summit 10 miles southwest of Hamadan in Persia, according to official dispatch from Petrograd. The Turks are being pursued southward in the direction of Tangaver. On the Caucasian front, in the direction of Bidjar, the Russians have overtaken the Flying Turks near Sen, and an engagement is in progress. The increasing activity of the Russians in these regions will soon have an important bearing on the operations in Mesopotamia. In the Verdun area, the French guns shelled enemy detachments at Alencourt Wood, west of Hill 304. The German organization at Epars Wood also were bombarded. In the Champagne region at Maison de Champagne, the German artillery was particularly active. On the Belgian front, east of Ramskapelle and north of Dixmude, the guns were active on both sides. The Turks in Egypt have been forced to abandon a strong system of defenses in the neighborhood of Shik, west of Shalal. There is a place of this name on the Upper Nile, about 400 miles south of Cairo. For 2 months, the Turks were engaged in fortifying this position, which was bombed by British aircraft. Apparently, the Turkish plans in this region were in an advanced stage of progress. The enemy fled on the approach of British troops. Oh shit, this is one. I'm gonna have to hit a pause thing. Remember this paragraph I went over. I'm just hitting pause so I can go get some water because I know I'm in for a. Oh my god, it's the last one. I didn't know it was the last page. Hold on, I'm gonna hit pause. Oh my god, I almost hit restart. And I'm getting my reading glasses for this one. Yeah, because I remember I was thinking to myself, boy, I should type this out. But I was like, no, I read it once, and maybe I'll go slowly and we'll get it. The Italians scored a success in the Trentino yesterday when raiding parties penetrated the Austrian trenches on the Asiago Plateau at Moschia. The Austrian trenches were wrecked and arms and ammunition were captured. In the upper Cordovelle, the Italians countermined successfully, blowing up an enemy mine and occupying the crater. It's the first time I think I've ever seen or remember seeing countermining. This is what a neat thing to read. On the Carso, in the Bosco Malto sector, the Italian guns destroyed an important Austrian observation post. In the mountainous regions, where Austrian and Italians are fighting with all the bitterness of racial rivalry, the Austrians are no match for the agile. Here we go with the Alpine troops. The Alpine troops were opposed to them. Knowing their inferiority at this kind of war, the Austrians show no keen desire to attempt offensive against the Alpine regiments. Early in the war, a battalion of Alpine troops climbed barefooted the precipitous heights of Monte Nero and stormed and captured the enemy's stronghold before the astonished Austrians and something for their surprise. I got it before, I thought. And recovered from their surprise. That's right. Austria has called to the colors the 1920 class lads of 16 and 17-year-olds. Submarine victims for the week ending March 4th numbered 23 British ships, according to an Admiralty statement issued yesterday. Of the vessels sunk by submarine or mine, the estimated loss is under 35,000 tons, or an average of 5,000 tons per day. 12 armored vessels successfully fought off the enemy submarines. During the week, about 5,000 vessels of all nationalities arrived at or sailed from British ports. The law of diminishing returns appears to be operating against German frightfulness. Well, let's see. How many did they say? 23 to... Yeah, I can see that. 23 versus 5,000 in a week. So 23 per day. Yeah, that's not very good. 23 times 7. I mean, goodness gracious. The entry, and here we go. The entry of China into the war is expected at Peking. The premier has returned to the capital, and it's understood has received the president's assent to carry out his policy with regard to the relations between China and Germany. The severing of diplomatic relations will, it is presumed, be the first step in the break of Germany. And oh my God, next week we're going to probably hear about the freaking Russian Revolution like there's no tomorrow. That's going to be nuts. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for this. And I hope you can't. Well, we have to wait, but I mean, I hope you're going to be here next week with me. I hope you have a great weekend. Remainder of your weekend, a great week, and I hope to see you next week for 111. All right, bye.